I ran into my ex-wife's sister. After catching up, she asked me on a date. What should I do? I recently ran into my ex-wife's sister Riley at the grocery store, and after talking with her and sort of catching up, she ended up asking me out on a date, and I'm not sure how I feel about it. Quick background, my ex-wife is the same age as me, and I have not seen her since we divorced 3 years ago. There was nothing juicy about the divorce, just two kids who got married too young, too soon, and realized it too late. We divorced pretty amicably, and she ended up moving away. I did as well for a time, but I ended up coming back home last year. I had no idea what my ex was doing and didn't really care. I got along with her family until the end, although I did not know her sister that well since either we were in college or she was in college, away from us. But I obviously had met her several times and had a cordial relationship with her. Never felt any weird vibes while married to her sister. My ex was not really close with her sister, but they also did not have any ill will toward each other. Anyway, she told me that my ex is engaged and happy, which I was actually happy to hear. She said her parents are doing well, and they even asked her a little while ago if she knew what I was doing, which she didn't because I don't keep in contact with anyone from her family. Kind of wanted a clean break, you know? We, me and ex, do have some mutual friends, but I don't think Riley really knows them that well. It was a nice conversation. Before we finished talking, Riley asked me if I would like to have a drink with her sometime. I thought maybe she just wanted to catch up in a better setting, more so than two people leaning on shopping carts. But then she said, "But I understand if you don't want to go on a date with your ex-wife's sister." So it's a date. I did end up exchanging numbers with her, asking her kind of lightly how her parents would feel, and they would probably be happy that I found someone they liked. I figured I would rather have the number and not use it than wonder if I should have gotten it. I don't know. I guess I was also just happy that an attractive woman asked me for my number. She did mention in our conversation before she asked me out that she was always surprised that her sister let such a good guy go, which I corrected her and told her it was definitely mutual, not all on my ex. Riley is very pretty. I enjoyed talking to her, and I like her family. They also always liked me. If I had just run into her as a stranger, and there was no history, if I'm being honest, it would have made my day to have been asked that. But I keep thinking that it's weird, like, she's obviously a grown woman now. But she was a teenager when I started dating my ex-wife. As I said, I didn't see her all that much. So, no, this is not a grooming situation. I would feel weird going to her parents, almost being like, "Hey, I decided to give your other daughter a try." Then how would my ex feel about it? Would it ruin her relationship with her sister? And if we got serious, I'd have to see my ex-wife at functions, which I don't care that much about, but it's still odd, you know? Then I got these intrusive thoughts like, is this my unconscious trying to make my failed marriage seem like a success? Then there's like, what if Riley had the same tendencies that made you and ex incompatible? But I feel like I'm also not being fair to Riley. Riley has a great family. She seems to have her stuff together. She was enjoyable to talk to. I feel like I could be allowing my past to throw away a potentially great partner. I don't know. I'm really confused. Help me. Edit 1. I can't post an official update yet, so here's the best I can do. I have read through your comments, taking my lashings from some, gotten some weird, creepy personal messages from others who, as one person put it, understood why I wanted to knock boots with my ex's sister. In fact, it was the creepy pro messages that actually changed my mind more than the people telling me not to go on the date. Though some of you against it also made some great points. I texted Riley and told her that I don't think it is appropriate for us to go on a date. I told her that I enjoyed talking to her and catching up, but that we should only be cordial if we see each other out, but nothing more. Maybe I shouldn't have said this, but I also told her that it is nothing personal against her, that she seems like a really great person, but given my history with her sister, it just isn't appropriate. She replied that she understood and respected my decision, but also said that she didn't think my ex-wife would have a problem with it. But I was steadfast and said I still don't think it's appropriate. I also learned a lot about myself here. And if you read some of my comments, you might have seen this, but I'll try to summarize. I miss being a husband. I miss being in a loving marriage. I don't miss my ex-wife, but I miss what we once had, and I want that again, with someone else. I didn't know I felt that way, at least consciously, until I spoke to Riley. I think her being my ex-wife's sister brought out some feelings in me that were never unlocked by the women I went on dates with in the interim, because they were detached enough from my previous marriage that I could still repress those feelings. I didn't realize how lonely I was and how much I craved having a woman that I could come home to and not just receive love, but give it. I think I focused so much on my career and other things in my life that I buried those feelings after my divorce. Finally, call me dumb, naive, oblivious, emotionally unintelligent, etc. But I'm not a bad person, and I never intended to destroy anyone's relationships. I also was not thinking about sex, thinking with my D*CK. If you see some of my replies, I didn't even think of some of the conundrums there. I was thinking with a heart that confused scar tissue with being healed. As for Riley, I don't know what her intentions were, and at this point, I don't care. I am not going on that date with her. I'm going to talk to a professional about my unresolved love issues, and I want to thank everyone here for opening up my eyes, even if you were a jerk, except the person who basically accused me of being a P***do. You can F off. Edit 2. I'm going to bed. I have been up way too late with this, and drank too many beers more than a long time. I have tried to respond as best I can. People who didn't even read the whole thing, I don't care about your opinion. People who did and offered up stuff, even if I didn't like, thanks for your input. This thing has blown up so much, I'll give you all an update if anything else of note transpires. Guys, holy hell, I didn't expect this to blow up to the way it did whatsoever. It's on TikTok, and I'm currently even more mortified, but it's so worth it. I'll also be answering some comments to clear up some things. After coming back to these comments and messages over and over, I realized I was severely overthinking everything, making things way harder than needed, and came to the conclusion that I didn't need to bring up such a sensitive topic in the first place, just to tell her how I feel, especially since she didn't confess that to me directly. I just needed to tell her, and rest would follow. I texted her the next morning asking if we could grab a bite, just us two, sometime that coming weekend. Had something important to tell her and that I missed her, which was true. I stupidly ended up worrying her with the way I worded this. She thought I was moving. However, she was excited and told me she missed me too. She was free that night if I was down and the day after next. I very much started to panic as it was sooner than anticipated, but that night really was the best time. I was still too embarrassed to show her the previous post in its entirety, but I was willing to do so if she doubted my intentions. To keep this brief, I'll spare the mushy details, but we met at her favorite tea shop, caught up for a while, then she actually outright asked me what I needed to tell her. It took me a bit to articulate everything since I was actively trying not to stutter like a dweeb, but I told her most of what I originally posted. I've had feelings for her even before the breakup, and just didn't know how to tell for so many reasons. I told her the important ones, but that she's always on my mind. I've always loved how kind, caring, thoughtful, dedicated, and just all around amazing on top of being so beautiful. She made me realize sacrificing my happiness to keep someone that hates me alive was unhealthy, that I deserved to be happy, and I was happiest with her. No one brightened my day like she did. She looked preciously stunned for a moment after I was done and was tearing up a bit at this point, but proceeded to tell me she's felt the same since we met and had a tiny feeling I liked her. However, she didn't think I'd be interested in dating her since we were such close friends. Plus, the toll my ex put on me meant I probably needed some time to recover, but she was just so happy I actually had the guts to tell her how I felt that as she was never going to tell me, so we both kinda awkwardly laughed for a bit. We talked for a while more, and I was so overjoyed, relieved, and super nervous as the mood immediately shifted to something newly intimate, but I did end up asking to take her out on a real date, whenever she was ready, as I did just lay a lot on her. Long story short, as a lot has happened since then. She's now currently my girlfriend. We're taking things super slow. Our second date is in a few days, and I'm kicking myself for not telling her sooner. She hasn't mentioned her weight at all, and I will be 100% showing her the post if she ever does so. Now I'm really glad I didn't start off with that. I'm so thankful for each and every one of you for your feedback, encouragement, support, and couldn't have done it without you guys. Serious rock stars over here. I met one of my closest friends about 2 years ago at the library, and I am completely in love with her. The only issue is I'm afraid she's going to think I'm shallow when I finally ask her out because she used to be chubby. How do I tell her how I feel without offending her? Throwaway as she is an active Redditor, and I really don't want her to find this, but I could use some outside advice. For context, when we met, I was in a toxic relationship with my now ex. She was focusing on school, working, and getting in shape, so I never really saw her romantically due to these factors, but I've always thought she was a beautiful person and a joy to be around. I'll call her Kelsey. I've told her things I wouldn't dream of telling my ex, talked for hours about anything, played board games, watched movies, went to restaurants, invited her to my book club, and just included her in almost every aspect of my life as she did the same with me, but we were rarely alone together. Nothing intimate besides hugs and jokes with friends, so never really thought of her like that. I finally had enough of the years-long verbal abuse, threatening to harm herself and mind games with my ex, when I started to realize I was spending more time with Kelsey and would sometimes forget about my own girlfriend as Kelsey made me happy and ex filled me with dread. It was roughly 7 months ago when I broke up with her. Kelsey 2 years ago was a bit chubby and she was working really hard to get it off, so I was super supportive of her and gave her fitness nutrition tips. She has gone from 195 to 130, but her heaviest was apparently 260, and you cannot even tell she was once that size. I'm so proud of her, and ever since the breakup, she's all I can think about, and we've been spending some time alone now. Her lips, the way she laughs, her smile, her eyes, and yes, her body is incredible. The fact she put in the work to lose the weight and is disciplined to keep it off while working and going to school makes her even sexier to me. She's always been there without me even asking. She would just know I needed her support in some way, and I would always find a way to let her know I truly appreciated her. I had a feeling she felt the same about me, but I let a bunch of insecurities. I'm freakishly tall, been called boring, told I talk too much, hate my chin, etc. Stop me from telling her how I felt. A few weeks ago, we were all at a taco joint with friends, stuffing our faces and having a great time until a guy approached her and offered to buy her a drink. My heart sank, and I immediately wanted to tell him off. She's not interested, but was able to fight it off, as I knew it was irrational, and I had no right. She sweetly agreed with some encouragement from the girls at the table, and followed him to the bar, and they started chatting. I had never been so angry, sad, and guilty at the same time about a woman. The time I've known her, she's been single except for a few dates that ended up wanting to just be casual, which really hurt her as she doesn't hook up and hasn't been intimate with anyone for a few years since she was focusing on herself. Guys and girls hit on her all the time, and it's always made me irrationally upset even before I realized I loved her because they didn't know her. So I should have been happy that she was talking to this guy and seemingly enjoying herself. She was giggling, smiling, sharing nachos with him. I was unbelievably bummed, so I started to head out as I didn't want to watch her flirt with this guy and cause a scene. When I got home, I saw she sent me a goodnight text saying, "Hope I feel better." Friends told her I wasn't feeling too hot. She was worried as I'd kinda been off, and let her know if I needed someone to talk to. I fell in love again. I decided I was going to tell her how I felt, as it wasn't fair to her, and it was unhealthy keeping it in since I can barely form sentences around her now. I asked one of the girls if she had an idea that Kelsey might have crush on me after explaining why I want to know. She confessed that she did indeed. Yes, but apparently Kelsey told her that she didn't think I'd ever date her because she used to be fat. She's not in my league, and I probably only saw her as another sister. I was devastated I gave her that impression and almost didn't believe, but it all makes sense as to why she would think that. I've never made any kind of move on her, and I myself am a pretty fit guy, plus my ex was super skinny. I'm so afraid to make a move now that she's lost so much weight that she's going to think I only like her now because she's not fat anymore, and my feelings are surface level. She means so much to me, and I don't want to F this up. Most of my friends are saying she's going to understand and not take it personally because she knows me. Some said she's going to think I just want to bang her now that she's hot. My sisters think I should tread lightly as she could feel like a rebound. How to approach this without coming off as shallow and potentially losing her or her respect? Thank you. Sorry, this was crazy long, guys. I'm stressed.